going to show you today are scaredy cats. Somebody sent me an email and said, how do you get rid of cats that are in your garden? There are several ways of doing this. You can shout at them, but their neighbours might not, their owners might not like that. You can chase them down the garden, or you could, if you wanted to, if they go to the toilet in a very specific part in your garden, what you could do is you could put either pepper down or chili pepper or cayenne pepper, something like that, and they'll go to their normal place, they'll sniff it, it'll make them sneeze, and then they'll go away. And they'll either go and find somewhere else or they'll leave your garden. If they do go to another patch in your garden, then do exactly the same there. And eventually they'll get the message and they'll go away. The only problem with putting those things down is that when it rains you then have to re-put it down because the rain will wash it away. But if you have a small garden and only a small patch that they go on and they're not too much of a problem, then it's very well worth doing. The other way is to get what is known as these plants called scaredy cats. I got mine from Thompson & Morgan, and these ones I've had for quite a while, and basically they look like this. Just smelling them like that, they don't actually smell of anything, but if you rub the leaf with your finger and then smell it, and it actually smells quite foul, but they give off this scent which the cats and foxes and dogs don't like either. So I tend to have problems with them, or I used to, with cats and foxes, but since I've had those in the garden, I don't seem to have any problems. They go other places to relieve themselves. They're very, very easy to propagate, and I will show you how to do that. Now, the scaredy cats, I got mine from Thompson & Morgan. I will put a link on, so if you want to get some, if you click on the link and then if you just put in scaredy cats, they're actually called coleus something or other. These are variegated coleus. And when they arrive, they come in groups of 5, and when they arrive they're very small. They're tiny, tiny things. They're about, I don't know, about so big, I suppose, 1.5 inches tall. And what you need to do is, when you've got them, you need to put them in some compost, just normal multi-purpose compost, okay, and keep them in the greenhouse. Okay, they don't like the cold. If they get frosted, then they'll die. Okay, these are actually quite robust now because I've had these for years and years. But you'll only need to buy 5, and if you look after them, then as they grow, you just take cuttings, and that's how you end up getting more. Now, the way to take cuttings is very, very simple. You just take one that's quite long, or if it's dangling over, and all you do is get your pair of scissors and just chop it. And then if there are any leaves down the bottom, just take those off. And then all you need to do is to pop that in some water, stick it on the windowsill or in the greenhouse, and just put it in water, and after a couple of weeks you'll have new roots going down here. Okay, and when you've got lots and lots of roots, then all you need to do is plant it. I'll show you one. I've had these in here for ages actually. I really need to pot them up, but I just haven't got around to it yet. And they'll end up with loads and loads of roots on them like this. I've got several here. Okay, and then all you need to do is just put 1 or 2 of these in some compost, and then you've got your new plant. Now, when the plant's about so big, it's in like a 3-inch pot, what you need to do is you can then put it outside. So wait until you can put them outside during the day, but at night time, as long as it doesn't get anywhere below 6 or 7 degrees, then they'll be fine. If it gets lower than that, then you need to bring them inside because it will be too cold, and you'll go out in the morning and the whole thing would have died. Now, you can plant these in the soil, but you then need to bring them back in again when the autumn comes and it gets too cold. So what I would suggest you do is, if you plant them in terracotta pots, and the terracotta would actually hold in a load of the moisture. So if you just have your plant here and you just plonk them round your garden, you need to space them about 3 feet apart, okay, and they'll grow quite big, but if you just keep trimming them, and then you'll end up with more and more plants. So just put the terracotta pot, I mean stick it, you know, in the flower bed, and then when you need to bring it inside, you just pick up the pot and bring it back inside, or you can actually use them as house plants when it gets cold outside, because sometimes in the midst of winter even the greenhouse is too cold for them. So when they can't stay outside, use them as house plants, but they need to stay right next to a window. You can't put them on, say, your freezer, which is a little way away from the light. They have to be right next to, sort of on the windowsill, because they don't like to be a long way from the light, okay? But after a while, you'll get some flowers on them. And this one's quite small actually, but it's quite bizarre. I've never seen anything like it before, and it'll grow about 3 times bigger than that. This one's quite tiny at the moment, and it's purple, and it grows to about 1 inch high, and it has little spiky bits, but they're not spiky, they're soft, but pointy bits sticking out all over the place, and it will flower for months and months. But they're incredibly easy to look after. If you do have a problem with foxes and cats, once you've placed them in your garden, and the cats will smell them, and then they won't come back in. Even when you bring them in the winter, the animals tend to remember that there's a funny smell that I don't like in that garden, and they go away. And you shouldn't. I haven't had any problems at all since I've had these dotted about my garden, but just be aware of the cold. But they're called scaredy cats, or cat away, or it depends where you get them from, but they're a coleus. But if you go into a place and say, have you got any plants that deter cats, they're a coleus and they're called scaredy cat or something like that, then hopefully they'll be able to point you in the right direction. But I'll stick the link for Thompson & Morgan, and then maybe you can get some off of them. Okay, well, I hope you found that useful, and if you do have problems with pussycats or foxes or dogs coming in your garden, then hopefully this should stop the problem. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye bye.